I'm Derek, this is There Will Be Cars, and on this channel I review a little bit of everything, all new cars. I get my hands on whatever I can, so you'll see trucks like this, SUVs, and of course there will be cars. So today I'm with the 2019 Ford F-250 Super Duty King Ranch. This particular truck is equipped with the FX4 package, with the 6.7 liter Power Stroke diesel, and some other goodies. Sits at basically $78,000 as tested. So with a truck this big, a truck this powerful, the diesel up front makes 450 horsepower, 935 pound-feet of torque. It's got a payload capacity as configured of 3,480 pounds, towing capacity of 17,500 pounds. So with stats like that, it's obvious I have to put this big beast to work. And I thought, well, what's a good way to do that? So luckily, my dad, who's filming right now, he came up with a little home improvement project to pick up some road base in the back of this truck. And he reached out to the person at the company where we'll be getting the road base, and the guy told him that a cubic yard of that weighs about 2,000 pounds. So well below the payload capacity of this truck, but it'll still give us an idea of how this handles a pretty heavy load. So if you're familiar with road base, you know that it's going to get mighty dirty in the back of this truck. Luckily it has a bed liner, but my dad and I are also going to use a giant tarp to line the bed liner to make sure it doesn't get too dirty. And then we're going to fold it over the top of the load and strap it into place to make sure as much of that road base stays in the back of the truck as possible. Give you a quick look at the setup back here. So the tailgate is soft drop, always a nice feature. And you've got this tailgate assist step and bar. Really comes in handy. Box link system, LED lighting. So I think we're good to go. Alright, so we have got a load of road base in the back of the 2019 F-250. Took a couple of wrong turns, but a friendly guy here at this facility told me and my dad that it's about 2,000 pounds in the back there. Of course, we're going to wrap this up and strap it down, make sure nothing flies out, or as little as possible flies out of the back. Okay, so we've got the load covered and tied up as best as we can tie it up. And fortunately, it's a very short trip home anyway. But yeah, hopefully none of this stuff flies out. Alright, so we're back from picking up the road base, and apparently I was wildly misinformed. I thought this was about 2,000 pounds in the back of this truck. We weighed it, so the number on the scale before we got this load was 8220. Once we hit the scale, after picking this up, the number was 11,660 if I remember correctly. Right. So the ticket they gave us, it said 1.7 tons. So I think it came out to like 3,440 pounds, which is 40 pounds off of the max payload of this truck. And I've got to tell you, I noticed the weight, like I knew it was back there because, you know, we were there when it got picked up. But the truck doesn't really seem to notice how much weight is in the back. Especially the engine. Doesn't seem to have any problem picking up and going with that much weight. The brakes, you could kind of tell. You know, you kind of had to plan out your stop a little beforehand, but the Power Stroke up front seemed unfazed by almost 2 tons of weight in the bed. So it's been a lot of fun, very eye-opening, very educational, and completely unforgettable. This was, I'm just shocked by how strong this truck is. So as you could probably tell from one of the earlier videos, the tailgate got a little bit of damage while it was being loaded at the quarry. I'm surprised that whatever seems to have caused this didn't shatter the plastic lip on top of the tailgate, but yeah, whatever ended up causing the damage transmitted a good deal of energy through and ended up creasing the top of this tailgate. All right, so it's been an interesting week with the 2019 Ford F-250 King Ranch. It started out at the quarry, at a local quarry, and it's a very eye-opening experience. Ended up carrying 1.72 tons of road base in the back of this truck, and even though the final amount was close to its payload rating, this truck didn't even seem to notice it, especially its engine. One of the guys that worked at the quarry, his company truck was an older Super Duty from a few years ago, before they switched to aluminum for 2017. It was a two-wheel drive truck, and when this truck was getting loaded with the road base, he told me, he's like, yeah, he said, if they were doing this to my truck, he said it'd already be on its tires. This truck took it like a champ, and out on the road, it didn't even seem to notice it. And it was something I'd never done before. But, you know, with a truck like this, you know, you can't just put groceries in the back and see how the truck takes it. I mean, you really have to, you know, weigh it down. I had to think of a way to test this truck's capabilities, and luckily my dad needed to, you know, pick up some road base for a home improvement project, so I was happy to help, and he was a very good sport about it. I think he kind of shifted the timetables and you know, went along with it, and he was nice enough to film the whole process, so I really appreciate that. I hope it was you know, showed you something maybe you haven't seen, or, you know, gave you a good idea of what this truck is capable of. But I have to admit, even with that, this truck can do so much more, you know, especially as far as towing. So now what I'm going to do is just show you around the truck when it's not at work, and show you what the King Ranch package in this particular configuration has to offer. There are a lot of components that help a big truck like the F-250 get work done, and one of those is definitely the engine. So you can get an F-250 with a big gas engine, or this monster, the 6.7 liter Power Stroke turbo diesel V8. Output is 450 horsepower and 935 pound-feet of torque. You've got all these earth tones and this kind of rust orange, dark wood trim, a little bit of bling around that. And then this particular truck, you got the telescoping tow mirrors. And then more wood. Of course, King Ranch logos. And then this sort of, you know, metallic look trim. Obviously it's not metal, but almost looks chiseled, you know, very rugged looking. And then more earth tones here. These Java leather seats. And hey, what do you know? Another logo. And then even back here, they've got the King Ranch logo. And oh yeah, more logos. Just in case you forgot. But yeah, it's just a great color palette. Here you've got your command center for lighting. You got your mirror spotlights, fog lights, bed lighting, headlights obviously, gauge brightness. You got this in-cabin release for the tailgate, power adjustable pedals, and then you got this old school foot brake and foot brake release. One of the great things about this truck is the center gauges. I mean, you can tell pretty much everything you need to know about this truck from looking here. Of course, you got the speedo and tach and all that, and then you can always see how much range you have left. And then in the center there, you can, you know, check your off-road status, steering angle, you know, and if your locker's engaged. Bada bing. And then towing status, that's a little more involved, but course, tire pressure, that's very important. I usually like to run this just so I don't have to take that extra split second to look at the gauge to the right. And then, of course, DEF status, very important in these diesel trucks, especially if you're putting a lot of miles on them. And then trip computer. I'm at the end of my week with this truck and I'm averaging 14.7 miles per gallon, just in case you're interested. So up top here you've got the button for the engine brake. So there's on and then automatic on. And of course your traction control, hazards, and hill descent control there on the far right. And I've got my iPhone hooked up to the Apple CarPlay system, nice and easy to use. You know, you got your text messaging right there, iTunes, maps, and then if you want to just go to the regular setup in this truck, just go to that, you know, and then you can toggle through all these various systems. And then unfortunately, this is something, you know, if you live in colder climates, there's not a dedicated hard button for the steering wheel heater. You have to go into the climate control there, and then of course all your phone and maps and Apple CarPlay, and then various settings here. Of course, it's got the Wi-Fi hotspot, and then this is a really nice feature, the massaging seats. You can you know, get a massage from the seat back and seat bottom and adjust the intensity, and of course the passenger has it as well. So that's nice. After a long hard day of work, you get in this truck and, you know, get a back massage. One thing that I really appreciate about these trucks is that Ford uses traditional, old-fashioned, large knobs for not just the volume and the tuning, but for the HVAC system. Of course, they have a rocker switch for this fan speed. I wish they would have found room for one more knob for that, but you know, it is a pretty great setup. You know, it looks a little busy, but it's very quick and easy to use. One thing that I really appreciated the other day, when my dad and I were unloading all that road base from the bed, is this max AC function. Easy on. If you need to cool down in a hurry, which, you know, down here in central Texas it gets so hot and so humid, you know, you need that sometimes, and especially if you've been really working out there, putting this truck to the test, you know, you need that in an instant, and it's nice to know it's there. Then down low you've got a big storage bin, USB ports, and I left the, you know, the cables out. It looks kind of messy, but I left them out just to give you an idea of all the various charging options you have here. And then you've got the 12 volt here and the wall plug. Storage is key in a big truck like this. So down here, hopefully you can see that, you've got a lot of storage spaces. You've got a dual tier glove box system, but space is surprisingly limited. So right there you can fit, you know, long, narrow items. And the one below it looks like it would be a lot bigger, but a lot of the space is eaten up. So you got a cavity up there. And the owner's manual is so big, and the way the bin is designed, it holds less than it looks like it would from the outside. I've always been very impressed by the capacity of this center console. So you flip this up, you get this tray up top, and that's movable and removable. And then down low, it's just absolutely cavernous. And then you got, kind of hard to see there, but you've got a another charger there. And I don't have it with me right now, but I have a like big lunchbox sized camera bag, and I can stuff that down there, and my pouch for receipts, and still put the tray on top and close the lid to this compartment. I mean, it's absolutely massive. One of the most impressive areas about this F-250 is the back seat, oddly enough. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but it's so versatile and so spacious. I just have to show it to you. I'm 5'10", and I get back here, I've got plenty of leg room. And of course, backseat passengers have some amenities: HVAC vents, 2-stage seat heating, and then a variety of charging options. Sometimes it makes me wish I could ride in the back of these trucks just to get a better idea of backseat comfort, but from what I can tell you right now, I would have no problem going on a long distance trip in the back of this truck. So if you run out of storage space in the bed and you need to store stuff in the cab, all you need to do to free up more space is fold the seats up nice and easily. They got a split to them, it makes them more versatile. The only catch to that is if you need to lower them again, you have to go to each individual section and pull this loop to drop them down. Anyway, once they're both up, you've got this largely flat, generously sized load floor. And I say largely flat because there's a bit of a hump here, but this serves a purpose. So if you got smaller cargo that you want to keep from moving around too much, you can flip this up and direct that partition, so you've got a split to that as well, and a little extra space for smaller cargo. My week with the 2019 Ford F-250 King Ranch is drawing to a close. I've had a fantastic time with this truck, learning about what it can do and what amenities it offers. It just really impressed me, just what it was able to handle and how easily it did it. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. I hope you've learned something about this truck, whether it's about its capabilities or the nice features it offers. I appreciate you coming by There Will Be Cars and watching this video. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and like this video. I hope to see you next time on There Will Be Cars. Thanks for watching.